Welcome to our podcast, Living by the Mantras, where I'm your host, Colleen Souza.
I'm Brian Souza.
Fabulous co-host right here next to me.
Great to be here.
Great to be here today. Hey, we are going to spend some time talking about common sense wisdom for an extraordinary life.
Extraordinary life.
Based on my book by the same name, Living by the Mantras, Common Sense Wisdom for an Extraordinary Life, where we really take a look at values first, that help change our lives so that we can go out and change the world. And that is what we are here to discuss and talk about. And today we are on episode 3 in a series on respect.
That was a great hand motion. Can you do that again?
Yeah. Common sense, wisdom, a foundation.
Okay.
To take care of ourselves and understand ourselves first so that we can go out and change the world.
And change the world. I love it.
The world, yeah.
I love it.
So we've been talking about respect, and in the book and in our lives, the mantra, the silly phrase that we repeated over and over again to represent that was, leave it better than you found it. Leave it better than you found it, because it's a sense of showing respect to wherever you've been and to whoever you've been with. And so we've spent the last couple of episodes defining respect, and today the episode is about how respect really transforms the world.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So
talk about it.
We're going to start with bringing peace and bridging conflict.
Okay.
Bringing peace and bridging conflict. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think anyone listening to this would not be able to identify that we are living in a time of lots of need for peace and bridging of conflict, because there just seems to be a lot of it. You can turn on the news on any given day and there's someone protesting something, somebody else doing something. There's just so very much of it. And so
one thing I want to point out here, guys, is that conflict is not a new idea.
Nope.
And since human beings have existed, there's been conflict of who can get closer to the fire. But who can't?
Come on, it's all Cain and Abel. Come on, it goes all the way back to the very beginning.
Let's go back to the beginning of time, right?
Yeah.
So, throughout all civilizations, throughout all history, there has been conflict, but there's also been resolution.
Absolutely. And that's another thing. Conflict is not necessarily a bad thing, because conflict brings about opportunities for conversation. Yep. And resolution brings about opportunities for bonding. So it's not a bad thing to have conflict.
It's change, basically. Yeah.
And it's growth. That's another thing. It's growth. It helps you grow. It helps you become stronger. But
remember the Lion King? The Lion King, the little character Rafiki.
Yeah, where he hits you on the head.
Hits you on the head and says, "Change is good."
Yeah.
Right. So at the end of the day, it's hard to change, and conflict does happen, but there's a lot of good that comes out of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So here's just a question to spawn conversation. Do you believe that people have the right to make their own choices?
Do I believe that people have the right to make what choices?
Their own choices.
The wrong choices?
Their own choices.
Their own choices.
Their own choices.
Do I believe that people have the right to make their own choices? Absolutely. People can make the wrong choice, and I've made plenty of them. Wrong choices, I made right choices, right? But at the end of the day, they're my choices, and I get to make them, right?
And so you have that opportunity, that kind of born with the right to make your own choices. Mm-hmm. And even if somebody else doesn't agree with them, doesn't mean they have to disrespect you.
Absolutely. The life is about choices, and every day we have an opportunity to make choices. Sometimes our choices turn out to be right. Sometimes our choices turn out to be wrong. But at the end of the day, we have to live with the choices we make.
And in fact, that's one of our mantras. It's all about choices, and that's coming up. You're going to see that
soon. Stay tuned
for
more on that.
Yeah, that's the next series that we're going to go into. But as a part of those making choices, I'm going to lean back into what it means for respect, not choices.
Okay.
But
all right.
If you agree that you have the right to make a choice, and somebody else has the right to make their choice.
Yeah.
Where does our conflict and disrespect thing come in? Like, we have to, let's talk about that. Like, if you can articulate that you think that someone has the right to make a choice, then you have to be able to articulate that you can respect them for doing it.
Yeah. So how conflict happens is you have expectations, right? So if I make a choice and my expectations here, and somebody sees my choice and their expectations here, there's a gap that exists. And that gap is what causes a conflict. So resolution is what happens when compromise happens, right? So
that's respect.
So you have to have respect in order to bring out that compromise, and looking at both sides of the same coin.
Okay, excellent. So how do we open our minds so we can show respect? What do we need to do?
Sometimes just flip the coin.
Okay.
Looking from the other side.
I was going to say empathy. There's that walk a mile in someone else's
Right.
shoes. And I think that's a huge one because we don't do that enough.
No, we don't.
We really don't do that enough. Have you, well, and I'm going to laugh because he and I will do this with one another constantly. So,
What do we do, Colleen?
This is probably what triggered our little, I would have traded Brian for a Diet Coke this morning. But the
the extra large size?
yeah. It was one of those moments. And after being married for 36 years, they
36 years, guys. There's a little bit of compromises happening.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit about other things that kind of conflict can affect, or disrespect can affect. Have you ever started listening to somebody? You're listening to them, and they say something that just catches your attention, or you just cannot wait to respond to. And now what happens in your mind is instead of respectfully listening to them anymore and maybe hearing all of what they want to say, you're focused on your response and building your argument against maybe one part of what they said without seeing the whole picture. I mean, let's talk about that.
So there's active listening and there's passive listening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So passive listening is you're already thinking about how to respond. Active listening, maybe you rephrase what they said, or maybe you're asking a question about what they said, and you're truly engaged in the conversation because you're actively participating.
Which is showing what?
Which is showing respect. That's one way to do that.
That's a huge way to do respect.
Yeah. And the opposite, in passive listening, you're really not showing respect because maybe you're watching a bird fly by. That didn't happen this morning or anything, did it?
Or you cross your arms and stare at the sky and don't want to act like you hear you. Yeah. And so it's funny. It's funny that we had a moment where we could completely see respect and draw it right into the conversation. But it's super important because what brought peace of our conflict was what?
Resolution.
And that resolution came from?
I don't know, Colleen, you tell me.
Respecting one another's opinion.
Respecting, yeah, absolutely.
We eventually realized we were trying to pretty much say the same thing, and in trying to pretty much say the same thing with our own little bit of, even after 36 years, unique perspective on it, that we could respect the way that we were each trying to say the same thing. So, I mean, really, that's what peace and conflict comes. We can change the world if we just choose to respect. And I think what we're seeing in the news, what we're seeing on social media, what we're seeing when people seem so fervent is just a lack of human respect.
Yeah. So, I mean, they call it programming for a reason, right? All the social media stuff. And so it's designed for you to follow. It's designed for you to comment. It's designed for you to be engaged. And the easiest way to do that is to design things that, tick you off or maybe make you upset or make you afraid and those kinds of things. But
tap into your emotions.
Yeah, tap into the emotions. But if you actually get outside and you walk around in the world and you go to state by state, there's a lot of love around. Well, everywhere you see.
Getting outside and just getting a breath of fresh air or taking a break from it. And it allows you.
Taking a dog for a walk.
Yeah. So opening your mind, thinking about it, processing it, because when we knee-jerk react, it doesn't bring peace or bridge conflict. It just brings more conflict. So that's super important. Yesterday, and
I think I want to point out one thing real quick. So there's being intentional and then things that are unintentional. So being intentional is how you have chosen in advance how you're going to respond or respect someone in a situation. Unintentionally, maybe you did tick them off or they ticked you off or their lack of expectations didn't meet each other. The compromise didn't happen. And therefore disrespects happened because it was unintentional. And so there needs to be, an apology or a meeting in the middle or however you need to bridge that gap so that you can find a common ground with each other.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. And that ultimately comes out of having a level.
Building friendships is important.
It's having a level of respect. So I was about to share that yesterday I heard I have to give shout outs to my friend Karen Aropkin. She said something a couple of times that meant a lot to me that ties in with this. And yesterday, just as an aside, if you're listening, if you're watching, this podcast is based on my book, and my book is out there, and a group of ladies who I haven't seen in 20 years have a book club, and they invited me to come and hang out with them because for the month of January, they read Living by the Mantras, and they wanted me to come and chit chat with them as they gave me feedback and told me what they thought of the book, which was delightful. But through our discussions, one thing Karen said, and by the way, If you have a book club out there, and I don't care if you're in Maine or you're in Florida or you're in Tennessee, they have this thing called Zoom. I'll join your book club. I think it would be a blast. If your book club read my book, I'll get online and I will spend some time with you and talk about it, because I want to hear how the book is changing your life. I want to give my input, and I love making friends. But that's an aside.
I do want to point out this is that from my perspective, it was interesting watching this kind of transpire, because they went and bought the books on Amazon. They had their book club meeting. They read the book, and then they called you and they said, "Hey, we'd like to have the author come visit us." And it was interesting because you say, "Oh, well, did you read the book?" "Oh, yeah, we already done.
Yeah.
From Amazon."
Yeah, that's how book clubs work.
Yeah.
They get the book, they read them, and they do it. He's a dude that's not in a book club.
No,
I have been in them in my
haven't
life.
been-
Yeah.
no.
He thought the whole thing
Whiskey clubs, wine clubs, and
he thought the
non-book
whole thing
clubs.
was
Yeah.
absolutely fascinating. But back to Karen's quote that ties into this idea of conflict and this idea of peace. She just said, this is, and I'm going to share, this is a group of women that are my age or older, and they're retired, and and as we hit this new, wiser place in life, she said that from this time until I die, I am simply learning. And I loved that line, because I want
Say it again.
She said, from this time in my life until the day I die, I am simply learning.
Wow.
And I thought that was
profound.
Go, Karen. That was such a beautiful line, because really that's how we should be. And when it comes to respect, one way to help bring it into bringing peace and bridging conflict and helping in the world is to realize that we have our ideas and opinions. We know what we know, and that's to be valued. But at the same time, if we know that from now until we die, we are always learning, then we can have respect for another person's perspective or point of view. So I really wanted to share that. And by the way, that could be her mantra about respect. If she wanted it to be, what's your mantra? Let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about this.
I want to, before you move on.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to kind of share an observation that we've had, and it's important that you build friendships with people that maybe not agree with you 100%. And we have been members of this particular wine group for 25 plus years, 28 years.
If you guys are out there listening, we love you all. Your family.
Love you,
they are
everybody.
our extended family. They're our kids' extended parents.
Absolutely. And the best part about it is they come from all walks of life, all political interests. Everything is different. And the best part about that is we sit together, we get along, and that's how community and life should be. It's a perfect example of how to
It absolutely is. It was built around our love of one thing.
Yeah.
Wine. But the cool thing is that because of our love of wine, we've gotten in each other's lives, and we respect each other's different opinions.
We actually learn from each other too.
Yeah, and we don't always throw on the table the thing that's going to cause the whole group to blow up, obviously, but that's part of respect too.
Absolutely.
Is we can gather, and when we're all together, there are like almost 20 of us.
Yeah.
And when we're all together, we have a blast. And like Brian said, we come from different places.
I think it's been 28 years we've been doing that. Yeah.
Tim was in kindergarten, and he's 32, so
there you go.
Math, almost 25 years.
Yeah, 25 years?
I was an English teacher. What's the math? Yeah, close to. We're getting up there. We've been around each other.
Quarter of a century. That's a long time for a group to be together and from all walks of life. And that friendship and in mutual respect, I think, is the biggest foundation of that friendship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So go, our little wine group. We hope you're hearing us and how much we love you all. And that kind of leads into the next thing, though. So that was really a good segue. Good job, Brian. Look at how we can be a team. Friendship and teamwork. Respect really builds friendship and teamwork. And we're talking about how respect can change the world. To build these, people need to feel safe, right? They need to feel comfortable. They need to feel confident. So let's talk about that. When people feel a decent enough of comfort and safety, what do you see in them? What comes out in them?
Well, you let your guard down if you're in comfort and safety, and you're truly who you are.
Okay, you get to truly be yourself. You give more of yourself. You share ideas.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel valued, what happens?
You think your opinion matters. If you don't feel valued, that your opinion may not matter.
Well, and you grow. When you feel valued, all of a sudden you begin to see. I know. Yesterday, I can just lean back on a very recent experience, because yesterday was that for me. It was so much validation, because you write a book, and the kind of book that I wrote shares in the kind of podcast that we're doing, the kind of work that I do now as I start coaching and I'm doing all these different things is to give of myself from my experiences. And there's a little bit, I share my stories. I share the stories of others. I share research that I've done, but I share of myself. And when someone finds value in that, it makes me more confident about what I'm doing. And I don't care if it's writing a book. I don't
It
care
makes
if
her
it's,
wheels spin.
it does.
It's awesome.
It does. I don't care if it's, whatever your job is, if someone finds that you've done a valuable job in your work, suddenly you want to work harder.
I see the same thing in you when you're speaking in front of a crowd, right? When you're in front of a crowd and you're giving a presentation and you have people come up to you after the presentation, they talk with you about your principles and ideas that you're sharing. You can see that's a mutual respect that's happening with getting that feedback.
It's energizing.
Absolutely
energizing.
energizing.
So once again, we're talking about me, but I mean, think of all the areas of your life. And I'm going to take it, not that this is simple on the 2 acres that we live on, but when Brian worked so hard, now we've sort of shared a little bit along the way that we rebuilt an old farmhouse in the middle of the country, and we took it down to the studs and rebuilt it. And yes, those were our ideas, and yes, we poured our energy and money into that, but the work itself is Brian redid the yard 100% himself. That wasn't contractors. That was him being his own contractor, him moving tons and tons of rock, him moving tons and tons of dead grass and whatever it is. And it is a beautiful landscaped estate now.
Thank you, honey.
You're so very welcome. And he still gets out there and spends hours on it. When somebody stops at our house, be it somebody that knows us or an Amazon delivery or Uber Eats delivery or whatever it is, and they stop because you can't help yourself but do so and say, this place is beautiful. They're not looking at the inside of the house. They don't know what the inside looks like, but they're seeing Brian's hard work and labor. And I know that makes him feel valued, and it makes him feel respected that somebody saw the beauty in what he's done.
So thank you so much for that compliment. I think that the big principle there that is being displayed is that when you're recognized for the work that's done, it really builds that mutual respect. So if you are a manager and you're managing people, and you're looking at a job that just got well done by one of your employees, then you need to not only compliment that employee, but broadcast that compliment, because that employee will feel empowered by your compliment.
Yeah. Send out an email if that's how your business communicates, and say someone caught doing a job well done. If it's not, because it's just a break room where everyone gathers and there's really not a lot of email, take a picture of it, make a note of it. Because
let's talk about parenting, for example.
Parenting is big.
Let's just say that it's easy for parents at kids at any age, whether they're 5 years old or 15 years old, to say, you didn't do that, right? And you recognize that thing that they didn't do. But how about we reverse it and we say, wow, you picked up your toys today. Wow, teenager, you cleaned your room today, and I didn't even ask you.
What is one of your favorites for me, honey?
What is that?
Wow, I can see the floor of your closet.
She cleaned her closet today. That's just amazing.
That is my favorite place.
You can see all the shoes on the ground.
That belongs to me, okay? And I have my own, and he needs to, but he'll walk by and go, oh my God.
But
oh my God.
As you compliment others, then there's a mutual respect that's built between who you're complimenting and yourself, and that builds that friendship and that builds that bond. It's very important to be intentional with your compliments.
Absolutely. And I think that it's just so important to remember that, when we say respect can change the world, it's because we are, like we said, trying to bridge conflict and bring peace, but we're trying to build friendships and create positive teamwork, because it's just when people get along, this all kind of has the same vein going on here.
Yeah.
Everything is a lot better, because the next kind of little bullet on my list is to talk about how showing respect changes the world, because it brings joy and saves time. Okay. Saves time and sparks joy in people. And I'm going to go back to the saves time, and I'm going to go back, since we've been completely transparent today, and we had a bit of a conflict this morning, and really our intent to film this episode was to get up on this morning and just have breakfast and start filming the podcast. but that didn't happen. It's just for your information, 2 in the afternoon, and we're finally at this podcasting part, and in part because we had conflict, and that conflict not only had to be resolved, we had to feel like we liked each other again, and then I didn't want a Diet Coke instead of Brian, and so
we're real people here, guys.
yes, but for that to happen was not that this episode doesn't get taped, not that we don't get to bring our fabulous words to you, but it definitely wasted some time. It wasted some time. So talk about, not just this morning, how is conflict a waste of our time and energy?
Well, usually, when you look back at it, when you look back at the incident, whatever it is, you can probably summarize it in a few words, and you realize there's a lot of time and negative energy invested in something that
That's
you
huge.
really don't want to repeat, right? So you can have it whether it lasts a day or whether it lasts years. At the end of the day, you can say, wow, that's a lot of time wasted. So time is one thing that you don't get back, guys. So that's the most expensive commodity you'll ever spend is time. Money can be replaced. You can make a lot of money. You can replace money. That's easy. But time today's a present.
Yeah.
Truly is. And we unwrap the present every single day. So reflect back on that as you make decisions and you look at your opportunities to resolve conflict and move forward.
Absolutely. And you said something, and I was being an active listener, so I jotted it down. So I didn't interrupt, and I didn't have to think about it while you were talking. And that was, he said it brings about negative energy. And I think that that's something huge too, because when we're trying to find respect and resolve the conflict, which is negative energy being thrown around, I think it's super, super important to be thoughtful about that, because we have energy, just like we can't get time back. We have energy, always have energy. And the direction that we decide to put that energy is going to impact the time we do spend. We think we're using time usefully, but if we spend it grumbling in our head and being angry and disrespecting the decision of another or how things are going, then we're not really getting all that we can out of any given moment. And then it's that effect. I like to say that there's 3 degrees of separate. You'll hear me say this on this podcast a lot. You'll see some version of it if you read the book. And that is, I should say, when you read the book, please do. And that is that when we are negative, if I decided to stay irritated with Brian and then had to pick up the phone to talk to somebody, no matter how hard I tried, there'd be less positivity and positive energy that I would be putting into that phone call. And the next thing that I did, and what it does is it just affects our ability to respect ourselves, respect others, and really get things done right. So that negative energy is huge.
Yeah, so you may have heard this term before. It was called a downward spiral. A downward spiral is like going down the drain, right? So you think of everything going down the drain, down, 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 and that's more compounded negative energy. So the more you have negative things in your mind, the more it appears in your life. And so how do you stop that drain from going? Well, you plug it up, right? You plug it up. So how can you plug it up? So practically speaking, what I did is I took the dog for a walk.
He did. He went for a walk.
So take the dog for a walk. Why? Getting out of the situation, looking at the sunshine, looking at the blue sky, taking a walk, getting out in the fresh air, and just reflecting back on how much I love her and how wonderful she truly is.
And you know what I did? This is what I did. I thought, fine, he can go take his walk. He needs fresh air. I made his breakfast, which was in the warmer and waiting when he got home.
I came back and there was breakfast made. I mean, wow. I was blown away.
On top of that, I needed to clean out my pantry. It's been on the list of things to do.
She cleaned the pantry
for a while. And I completely gutted our pantry and put it all back together in that time. And it was a way to spin the negative energy out. And neither one of us were negative when it's over. We had to start smiling again. But bottom line is that is a way to not only respect others, but respect yourself. And the world is a better place. We can transform our own world, and we can transform the worlds of others by just simply trying. I mean, it's respect to me. It's just super important.
So here's another thing you could do. Are you ready?
Energy.
Are you ready?
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
Watch this, everybody. Watch this. I apologize for my part.
Wasn't that cute? If you're listening, he just kissed me and smiled at me. That, by the way, our own children will watch that and go, well,
Yeah.
damn, dad just did that on camera. He is his most strong Italian man. Okay, here's another one. So I say that it saves time and it sparks joy, and that's what we just talked about, what
Yeah.
you just
We just
experienced
sparked
with
joy
us.
right
We
now.
just sparked joy. In my book, I quote William James. And if you're not familiar with William James, he's considered the father of modern psychology. And his quote, I know Brian's going to appreciate this. The deepest principle of human nature is to be appreciated.
Yep.
The deepest principle of human nature is to be appreciated. That was William James. And I know this to be true. There's a book, and this I feel terrible with because I can't remember who wrote the book, and it was The 7 Love Languages. And it's a really great book. If you haven't read it, I do recommend you take a look at it. And what it does is it helps us, if you read it, it helps you identify what is the most important way that you can feel respected and loved. And Brian and I both, and I think most human beings, will have appreciation at the top of that list. I know Brian's looking up right now. The 7 love languages is
7 love languages.
Who's the author of that?
Let's see here.
He's clicking through. It is so important. And so let's talk about that. Being appreciated. Think about the times when you smile because you just feel like somebody cares. When we send a thank you note, have you ever received flowers? Guys probably obviously haven't received flowers, but how about when somebody just gives you a random gift? What we'll often get from a client is maybe a bottle of wine to say thank you so much for helping us with the transaction. Being appreciated is
Gary Chapman.
That's right.
Dr. Gary Chapman,
Dr. Gary
renowned author of the concept of the 5 love languages.
5 love languages.
First published in 1992, and then it was expanded to 7 love languages at a later time.
Okay, so Gary Chapman, love languages. Please look it up.
Yeah.
Now, the question, what does it feel like? I mean, talk about that expression of feeling of appreciation. And I'm going to say, since it was just yesterday, I wanted to show these gals that I was so appreciative that they decided to make I guess they've been doing this for years. And every January, they try to do a nonfiction book and not a story or a novel that they can talk about setting goals for the year, better health, better whatever. And they chose my book. I wanted to show my appreciated them. So along the way, I stopped and I got everybody a little treat for every person that was there. But they reciprocated and they gave me a gift and they gave me flowers, and just for just being proud of me, being old friends, really, really proud of the book, thanking me for coming. We had a mutual love fest, a mutual respect fest yesterday because we showed appreciation to one another. That brought joy. And that joy poured into the evening, and I was working on other things because I just came home on an emotional high of feeling respected and appreciated. Talk about why do you think appreciation is so important?
Well, I mean, when you look at that, appreciation is a sense of love, right? So when you love something and you appreciate something, it's almost the same thing. So when you hear the phrase, the world needs more love, or the world needs more respect, right?
Love, sweet love. I'm sorry.
So if it truly needs that, if it needs more respect, then show more love, show more appreciation, because those go hand in hand. And
by the way, that's cheap and easy. I mean, here's the deal. It can be something as extravagant as going and buying somebody a gift, but I will not forget, it was my birthday, oh gosh, a good 16, 17 years ago. Yeah, 16 years ago, 2010, I think is what it was. I was a teacher at the time, and I ran a program called peer counseling. And so I had junior high and high school, but my high school students, my son and daughter were in that class. So it was a leadership class on our campus. He had purchased just stacks of Post-it notes, which I'm famous for. And he made sure that the kids, and there were about 30 or 40 of them, each wrote at least 5 or 10. He had our son facilitate this. words of appreciation or something positive. And then a number of them at lunch, I didn't know this was going on. This was going on, me unaware. When I went to go to my car that night, because at lunch they had gone out to my car, my son had snuck my keys out of my purse, and they put those Post-it notes all on the inside of my car. And it was, the entire windshield was covered, the entire windows of the 2 front windows and all over the dash. Took me 30, 40 minutes before I could go. And I think it actually was even longer than that, because I caught myself reading them, and it was beautiful. It was not an expensive thing. It was about 500 notes from these kids about what they appreciated about me. And it was a beautiful gift. I have pictures of it, and it taught me that it's the simple, I mean, it could have just been one note signed by all of them and it would have made me happy, but just to take all those little sticky notes and put them all inside my car was a beautiful, simple, cheap, but incredibly powerful moment that I will never forget, because I felt loved, and I replaced those all over the place so that I wouldn't
Perfect
forget them.
example showing love and appreciation and how much they love you. And each one was a personal note. And they talked about it for years, and you talked about it for
I'm
years.
talking about it
16 years later, it's still having an impact. So those are priceless moments and gifts that weren't expensive at all. Think about that for a second. So it's not something you just go buy and do. It could just be a simple act of love.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I have one that made my 21-year-old daughter's eyes roll. If you've listened to, I think it was maybe the last episode, or it was the first episode, I talk about the fact that we all get in situations where we know we're a little weak and we don't tend to show respect. And for Miss Gracie, it's when she's driving her car, and she likes to say, that's the place I take out my levels of stress at human nature, Mom. Just leave me alone. I don't do it face to face.
She has the Mr. Potato Man angry eyes on.
She does. She's more than Mr. Potato Head. So I have told her, you know, and I've told her before, and I don't think she's done it for a while. And I shared the writing, write be nice or be kind with a dry erase marker on her rearview mirror. So I asked her if she'd still been doing that. She goes, I don't have a dry erase marker. I don't have one in this apartment, so I can't do it. So what did Mom ship her?
She's the B1 F-bomber is what she is.
Yeah, she is. So what did I ship her? Dry erase markers. And it came with a little note from Amazon that said, be kind. And so she FaceTimed me when they showed up, and she's like, really? I'm like, I want to see it. I want proof that you wrote it on there. That she laughed, and she's doing it again. She's writing it on there, but it's because, it's a small little gift, and it made her smile, and it makes her rethink her level of respect for others. And it's a way to show that I'm loving her, thinking of her, and appreciating her. So that's really important. So let's pull this together. So we're talking about the fact that it brings peace in and manages conflict if we are respectful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It builds friendships, and it helps us develop teamwork if we are showing respect. It saves time. It sparks joy if we show respect. So all those things are world transforming, the name of this episode. So let's talk, let's just kind of conclude this and wrap it up. I do love to live life with a show don't tell kind of mentality. You know that, okay? You can tell somebody something till they're blue in the face, but they've got to see it. They've got to see it live, and they've got to see it in action. So I'm going to throw some stuff at you, and you tell me with a quick answer how you think that these things show respect. You kind of answered one of them already, but listening. How can you show people that you're listening to them?
So we talked about active listening and passive listening. So remember those principles as you do listen and continue to move forward.
And how can you show them that you're actively listening?
So you can ask questions, you can nod, you can engage by repeating back what they said. That's active listening.
Okay, very good. How about using questions to show general interest in other people?
Yeah. So
whether they've been talking to you or not, how can you show respect with questions?
For example, if you're in the grocery store line and your cashier is ringing you up, how are you today? Is a typical question. Oh, I'm fine. And you say to them, what's one of your favorite things that you like in the store here? And they might mention something. Oh, I haven't tried that. But it's just engaging in conversation and making eye contact.
That's excellent. And he is really, really good at that, because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know you talked to people when you were out in public when I first met him, and that's hard to believe if you know me now because you can't get me to shut up. But the bottom line is, it's really a great way is to engage strangers in conversation. If they're buying the same thing in the store, you're trying to decide, say, have you tried either of these? What do you think? It's just so powerful to engage people in conversations. Brian talked about compliments. Let's talk about compliments again. Let's review that. You talked about as a manager, if you complimented people.
So being intentional with your compliments goes the distance. And so you can do that in your marriage relationship, your partner relationship.
So proud of him today.
You can do that in your work relationship. You can do that with random people that you don't even know. For example, going back to the grocery cart example, and usually I use grocery cart just to share with everybody. And what was that? 40 years ago, I worked in the grocery business, and
you did. That's one of the ways you paid your way through college.
Paid your way through college. It was grocery carts that are left out there, right? So the grocery cart, and there's a whole phenomenon of this. The cart being put back, right?
It's
it's in the book. It's in the book.
That's where
so
he's
if you
remembering
see
that from.
somebody rolling a grocery cart back to where it's supposed to go, thank you so much for putting that back. I love getting the grocery carts right where they need to be for next time I visit. And people will look at you like, oh my gosh. I had this conversation with this guy that was, I would think he would be in his mid 80s probably.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked over and I actually got a grocery cart and I handed it to him and he goes, well, thank you, young man. And being almost 60, I appreciated that comment, the young man. And then he goes, why did you do that for me? I said, well, I just wanted to, I was walking to get one for myself and I'm walking in the store here. And he goes, I wish I could walk as fast as you. And I said, well, I'm actually really hungry, so I'm heading to the grocery store. But it was that moment of just getting the cart for him and just handing it for him and realizing that little teeny things like that make a big difference in people's lives. And so complimenting a random person on the job that they're doing or a person that you're noticing. We even were in church the other day and we complimented this mom. They had a cell phone moment. And the mom was like, daughter, now is not the time to be doing the cell phone. Now is the time to be paying attention to what's going on in the church service. And it was a really good parenting moment where there was not like, you're doing the wrong thing. It wasn't like that at all. It was like a mutual respect. And it was amazing to watch. And I walked over to that mom and I said, nicely done on the mom moment there. And she just got this biggest smile ever.
Well, and I think that's my challenge to you this week. I have one more that I want to get to, but I do want to say I'm going to give you a compliment challenge because I'm going to tell you, if somebody, the smallest of compliments, I love those shoes. That's a great handbag.
Mm-hmm.
You have a great smile. I love those.
Your eyes are beautiful.
I love those glasses. The slightest of compliments is absolutely a banner way to show respect to another human being and make the world a little better. Transform it. The last one is be vulnerable. And Brian gets the award for that today.
Oh, wow.
Vulnerable on camera. Good
trophy.
job. You get a little trophy. You get a little trophy. But I think that that's another really important thing, whether we are managing people, parenting our children, just living in the world around us. It shows respect in a crazy way because we live in a world where we're told that we have to be the smartest, the best, the brightest, the fastest, the whatever it is. And to say, oh, how do you do that? Or I don't understand that. Or could you help me with that? There is an incredible level of respect you're showing somebody that already has a skill or is better at something than you, especially if you're the leader or the one in charge, because that shows a level of respect. Another thing, and I'm going to
I'll quote somebody.
Okay. Well, do that because what I'm going to say is kind of the opposite of that. Go ahead.
Okay. So Michael Dell comes to mind. Michael Dell Computers, right? So he said, and I might not be quoting exactly right, but he said something to the effect of never be the smartest person in the room. And if you are, you need to find a different room.
That's huge.
So why is that important? What it's doing is acknowledging that there's somebody that's brighter than you, that's more knowledgeable, that's more expert than you are. And I think so often we put the pressure on ourselves to be the best. in everything that we're doing. And you know what? You don't have to be. Maybe you can rely on somebody else.
And guess what happens when you do? And that's what comes back down to our topic,
Yeah.
and that is it shows them respect. And whether you are, once again, managing somebody, leading your children, and I'm going to default to the parenting piece here just a little bit, but this accounts for everything in life. You think as a parent, you have to have all the answers. You have to have your shit together at all times. And if you don't, then your kids are going to be like, oh, my mom doesn't know what she's doing. I'm going to share with you that obviously you have to lead and you have to be in charge and you have to be the one that's responsible. You have to be respected, but there will be a ridiculous bond of respect with your children, with your workers, with your employees, with your team. If you can share that there was a time where you struggled with something they're struggling with. Now, that's not, that's the opposite of, hey, you do this better than me. Would you tell me how? But also to be vulnerable enough to say, I remember when I was in your shoes. I remember when I was there. I remember how it felt to feel a little overwhelmed, to feel a little frustrated, to feel a little confused. You're respecting the place that they are currently stationed at in life, and you're showing them that they can get beyond that. So that vulnerability works two ways. One, respecting somebody for something you can't do, and also understanding and respecting them for being where they are at the time they're
Great
struggling
point.
with something.
Great point.
So my challenge this week is that you compliment at least one person. It would be great to say one a day, but at least one person this week randomly. Because for some people, you're like, oh, I'm going to start doing that all the time because you're very vivacious and outgoing. But if
Yeah.
you're super introverted and talking to strangers makes your whole face flush red, try at least once this week to say a kind something to someone. And the other is to try to be a little vulnerable this week, because that level of respect is going to bring joy.
I'm going to leverage that challenge
bridge
too.
Conflict. Yeah.
So people use these and they say, okay, the little text message, I guess that counts. I mean, it might count.
No, face to face, big time.
So what she's trying to say is that this is a face-to-face, human-to-human encounter, right? So whether it's your family member or a friend or a coworker or even a stranger, if you really want to stretch yourself, look for that compliment and find a way to be intentional with your compliment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're going to wrap this up. We really appreciate that you're hanging out with us, that you're here at Living by the Mantras, that you're taking a look at figuring out your values so you can take care of yourself and get out and change that world around you. Please like us, please subscribe, please follow us, please share us out with others. That would be tremendous. You can click on our links below. You can get the book Living by the Mantras anywhere you buy books. You can go to the website and learn more about us. Be watching starting in March, and I'm declaring it. I'm putting it out there. I'm going to have classes ready to go that we're going to start taking a look at taking the principles that we're sharing here on the podcast that are in the book, and be watching for some announcements on that. And then please, I am learning to say I love social media, and it's not what I used to say about it. And I love social media, and I need you to like and follow me in a whole bunch of those.
Share with somebody that you think might need it. And remember, we're talking about
no, I was just going to say, I'm not quite done with the social media. Go to the website. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok, follow me on X, and tell the world about it. Now you can say what you want
This
to say.
episode is about leave it better than you found it. And that's the mantra that we've been talking about. But if you have a better mantra that represents respect, what's your mantra?
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.